Hey friends, what's up and welcome back. So today we obviously, as you can tell by the title, are sort of piggybacking off of our last video, which was what I wish I would have known before moving to the Dominican Republic. So if you haven't seen that, I will link it up here so that you can check it out. And I think it's over here.
It's in the upper right hand corner, isn't it?
Yeah.
So on their screen it's going to be right up here. Yeah, this is upper right.
If you haven't seen that video, I will link it up here, so go ahead and check that out.
So without further ado, we're going to hop right into the 6 things that we have learned since moving to the Dominican Republic. Okay, number 1. The first thing I've learned since moving to the Dominican Republic is that I love plantains, or plátanos as they're called here. I didn't realize that I had such an affinity for plantains before I moved here.
Well, we didn't like them when we first moved here.
Yeah, and I didn't even really care for them, but I have definitely grown. They're more palatable. In fact, they're delicious. And I've just grown an affinity for the natural fruit that's here, like the mangoes and pineapples.
But we loved those things before.
I didn't really care for coconut water, but I love that now. Avocados. Man, there's just so much good fruit here.
I wish I liked avocado. If there was one thing I would change about myself, it's that.
Anyway, we love the natural vegetation here.
Yeah. Number 2, I have realized that Starbucks is God's gift to humanity. A true marvel of human development.
Maybe an overstatement.
No, it's not. It's
Maybe
totally,
a little bit.
Here's why it's not. Because for people like me, who enjoy being alone without feeling alone, it is the perfect place to go and do work. Because I feel like here, I work in an office with people that I know, and that makes it very hard for me to do work, because we're women, and we like to talk to each other. So I don't get, like, he can just like focus in and get something done, and I can do that as well, unless I'm with people who are talking to me. And so yeah, I miss Starbucks where I could go and put my headphones in and be surrounded by people and know that I can be there by myself and feel safe and comfy and be able to speak the language and do the stuff. Like, not even at Starbucks, just at a coffee shop, because coffee shop culture is not really a thing here. And if it is, it's just different because it's more of like a business thing. Where you like go hang out with your colleagues.
Maybe some coffee shops
siesta.
there isn't even like that much space.
Yeah, you like go get coffee and then you leave.
Like, I like Starbucks, but I feel like it's more just like general coffee shop vibe than anything. For number 3, I was gonna also say something about an American company that I enjoy, and the reason I enjoy it, and that is Amazon. Amazon makes everything super convenient, and when I first thought about this point, I realized that I was thinking, man, things in the States are just so much more convenient. You can sit on your couch and order something and it shows up on your doorstep the next day or two. And I've got to say that we can use Amazon here, but you order it, you've got to order it to a shipping company, a third-party company, and it takes about a week, and then once it comes, you have to go to the place to pick it up, because we don't have addresses. Like, our address is literally Street 3, Corner 6. So you go pick it up and you pay like $5 per pound. So it's not as convenient. But this whole thing got me thinking about convenience. And what I realized was convenience is totally subjective. Like, after being here, I realized there are things that are so much more convenient here. Like, I can walk 2 blocks away and get my hair cut for $4. Like, that's pretty convenient. And the things that I thought weren't convenient, like, man, I gotta go to a different place to pay my bill and I gotta pay in cash and all this stuff. Like, what I realized is that the only reason that they're inconvenient, like the driving is inconvenient for me now is because my expectations are different. Like, I'm the only one on the road expecting them to do something that they aren't doing, and so it's throwing them off. Or I'm the only one who expects that it should be this way. So now that I've been here for a year almost, I realized that things are convenient here, just in a different way. And you know what else you probably can't do? Is walk down like 3 or 4 doors and go buy an ice cold glass bottle of Coke.
In your neighborhood.
In your neighborhood. Yeah, a lack of zoning definitely makes things closer and more convenient to walk to.
I will say though, it's not always super convenient here.
It's not.
Like when we went to try to find a cord for our piano, because the power blew the cord and it wasn't plugged into a surge protector, whatever. Like, we talked to people who live here, who we figured, you know, would probably know where we could go get one of those things. And they were like,
oh, you should totally go to this store. They'll for sure have it. And so we go to that store and we're like, hey, do you have one of these? And they're like, oh no, but you should totally go to this store because they'll for sure have it. And then we went to this store and we were like, hey, do you have one of these? And they were like, oh no, but you should totally go to that store because they'll for sure have it.
And that happened for 3 days straight.
Yeah, at least we were in and out of at least 6, 7, 8, maybe 10 stores. It was
and you know
crazy.
what we did? We just ordered one from Amazon.
Yeah. Yep.
Number 4 is I realized how much I compare myself to other people in a really negative way. And yeah, like I should have known that before because everyone compares themselves to people and it's a bad thing that people do innately. But I didn't really feel like I had a super big problem with that until I got here, and I don't know if it was because I was already stressed like I talked about in the last video, but I just started looking at everyone and seeing the way that they were doing things and succeeding at things, and I put a lot of pressure on myself to do things the way that they did it. Take my husband, for example. He's really good at sitting in front of sitting at a desk all day long at his computer and just like hammering everything out all day long. He doesn't have to get up. He doesn't have to do anything, which maybe is not healthy for his body, but but you know, he's really good at being focused from 9 to 5. I can't do that. So I just really, I think, beat myself up a lot because I was like, well, why can't I focus from 9 to 5? Why can't I do it that way, or do it the way that she's doing it, or he's doing it, or whatever? And I kind of like put myself in unnecessary constraints to be someone that I'm not. We talked about this earlier, but I'm fresh out of school and I'm used to being in classes all day long, having that structure, and then going home and doing my work in the evenings. And now it's like I'm trying to reverse that and do everything that I have to do during the day instead. So
why do you think being here has made that more apparent for you?
I think because it's less structured. It's not even necessarily like the Dominican specific. I think I would have learned this if we went to Europe. I think I would have learned this if we went down the street and I wasn't in school anymore. It's different, but it's something that I've learned while I've been here. And I also think that the stress and the lack of confidence that I talked about in the last video like compounded and made me realize it here.
And I feel like because we're hanging out all the time, especially now during the quarantine, like we work in the same room, and like I do things a way that works for me, and like I figured that out, and so now you're around me, and so you see that it works for me, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, or that it's going to work for you, or it's just like that's the way I can sit and wait for my watch to beep and say, hey, stand up,
and then he doesn't.
I try to. So number 5 is not something that I've necessarily learned, but something that's been more impressed on my heart that I've been able to see and realize and understand more since being here. And that is that happiness is not tied to wealth or comfort. And the reason why I can see that more clearly here, there's just something about seeing a little girl just squeal with joy because she's got a sticker on her face, or see a little boy who's just so ecstatic because he's able to kick a deflated ball with a shoeless foot. And you know, that's made me realize seeing the difficult circumstance that a lot of people here find themselves in, but seeing their joy and seeing how they're able and they're content. There's just something to seeing the simplicity of, you know, people running their shop, just enjoying, relaxing with their families or with their friends on the weekends, listening to music up loud, that demonstrates that there's not necessarily this cutthroat, expand my business, work as much as I can in order to make as much money as I can. But really, this just like, you know, there's something to just working to make enough money to be able to eat and provide for my family and to enjoy life. And I think that's been really helpful for me because in the States, like there is that competitive nature of everybody's just trying to work as much as possible or make as much money as possible because they feel like once they have the money, then they can buy the things that make them comfortable. And it's something that Dave Ramsey said that I heard the other night, is that money just makes you more of who you already are. So if you're angry and depressed, you have a lot of money, it's just going to make you more angry and depressed. Whereas if you're happy and you're generous and you're thankful and you're a gracious person and all that, then having that money is going to give you more opportunities to practice your generosity and love people with what you have. That's something that's really been impressed on my heart, is like, it's not about money, it's just about enjoying the things of life and finding purpose in something greater and more lasting than just physical materials.
Number 6, my third one is that I feel like I've learned what it means to rejoice in suffering. I feel like that's a very Christianese thing to say, but in James he says, rejoice in your suffering because it produces a steadfastness in you and endurance and all of these good things. And I think I've always understood that in my head, but it never really got into my heart. Like I didn't ever really know what that meant. And I've joked about rejoicing in suffering, I've talked about it, I've prayed for it, I've joked about praying for it. I thought I got it, but I think being here has made me realize that there's a layer of it's not even complex, a layer of simplicity that I didn't get. And I think a lot of people can hear rejoice in suffering and think, well, that's morbid. Why would I be happy that I'm in pain? And I think it's more about recognizing that your pain is purposeful, usually. No, always, because when you endure pain, your endurance to endure more pain next time increases. And that doesn't mean that you're hopeful that more pain is going to come, but just that you're becoming a more steadfast human being. And I think what has spurred this in me is a quote by C.S. Lewis. It's not going to seem related, but it is. He says, don't bother asking yourself whether or not you love your neighbor, just act as though you did. And he's saying that your actions can create emotions. So if you act like you love someone that you dislike, eventually you're going to start loving them because that's just the way that your heart is. So I was reading through James the other day and that quote popped into my mind because I was like, well, okay, God, what does this actually mean? Because clearly I don't get it. And he was like, hey, remember when C.S. Lewis said this thing? And I was like, is it really that easy? Could it be that simple, God, that I need to stop asking myself whether or not I'm rejoicing in my suffering or how to rejoice in my suffering and just rejoice so that my rejoicing will lead to rejoicing in suffering? It's like going to the gym. You rejoice that your muscles are sore the next day because you know that you're going to get stronger. Mm-hmm. And that was like, God started speaking my language.
Yeah. You don't rejoice that your muscles
are sore. You rejoice that you're getting stronger.
Yeah. And there's something to making a big move, a big transition that, like Abby was talking about last week, like you're just kind of thrown up in the air and you don't know where you're going to land and things are difficult and you don't know just how to do the most basic things. That really is challenging.
Yeah, and I don't want to say I'm suffering like, oh, everyone in my family's dead, and like that's not, like I know that people have it so much, like moving to a new country is a totally different brand of suffering than like suffering.
Yeah, but think about the things that we have developed since being here that we can rejoice about, like courage to go out and talk to people when we don't speak the language that well, and perseverance when things over time are difficult, and perseverance when you're trying to grow new relationships, and having patience when people are doing things a different way. Like, there are all sorts of ways in which, like, in order to grow in patience, your patience has to be tested, and you've got to withstand that test, and then your patience develops. You aren't rejoicing that your body hurts. You're rejoicing that, man, your endurance is growing.
Mm-hmm.
You're becoming a more patient and more
well-rounded, more hopeful,
and centered.
Yeah.
Just like centered.
Person,
Yeah.
human, individual.
That's deep. Well, there you have it.
Yeah, guys, these were the things that we feel like we've learned since moving here. Obviously, this is not an exhaustive list, but you know,
Little by little.
It's just a little taste.
It's been a good thought exercise to just kind of reflect on the ways that we have developed individually and as a couple since being here. I know that we've had ups and downs, obviously, like anybody, and it's our first year of marriage, and a lot of times people say that your first year is the most difficult, and I hope that's the case because we've really enjoyed it. It hasn't been perfect, but it's fun to look back. You gave me the sassiest look. Yes, that's how our first year has gone.
Thank you so much for watching this video if you've made it this far. Thank you for your support of us, and if you want to see more videos like this, please let us know. Don't forget to check out the video I made last week. Give this video a like if you liked it. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're new here and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a video with us again. And until next time,
Ciao.
we'll see you then.